And I was so afraid when I was 13 years old. This was my first flight when I was 13. Family's going on vacation. We're going to fly to Florida. I didn't sleep for 2 nights. I was petrified. And I remember as a kid saying, I want to be a businessman, but I don't think I could be a businessman because I'm so afraid of flying. And it was like a constant thought, like in a fear, even when I wasn't flying, that it was going to prevent me from ever, doing it. But the thing is, I got on a plane reluctantly. It was scary to me, but I fly almost, a couple times a month, sometimes every week, and no worries, no thought, no concern. And it's a matter of doing it. It was a matter of getting on there. It was a matter of experiencing it. And it was also a matter of getting some basic education about it.
Right. And you're not afraid of flying anymore.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're not fearless, you fear less.
Right. So in other areas, I still have fears that I face.
Yeah.
But in that was one that I did face, and that, it's allowed me to be comfortable and enjoy it, and have it. I couldn't even read one page of a book on flights in the past. I could read a whole book.
Mm-hmm. But it's interesting. So your action, though, of getting on the airplane, despite your fear, you knew what you wanted. You knew you had to get on an airplane to do what you wanted to do in life. So you faced that fear. You didn't feel confident, did you, when you got on that airplane?
No, not at all.
You didn't say, well, I feel confident, therefore I'll get on the airplane.
I can't even make this up. The name of the pilot, Jim Dye. His last name was Dye. I'm 13 years old.
That is a horrible
Jim
name
Dye,
for a
and I
pilot.
was like, wow.
He should just call himself Captain
this is
Jim.
A sign. This is a sign I need to get off this plane.
That's funny. Yeah, Captain Dye. I'm going to fly with Captain Disaster.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, bad name. Well, can I tell a little story here about fear?
Yeah.
And this really has nothing to do with flying, but there was a time in my life, again, back to this divorce and everything, where I'm separated from my wife, and I had a social event that I could go to. And I knew, again, seeing where I wanted to go in my life, I knew that I could pass this up. I could pass this flight up, but I had to go to it. And I hate this, it's embarrassing to say it, but I was afraid. Mm-hmm. It was a social crowd that I was no longer involved with because of the separation. I knew my ex was going to be there. I knew a lot of people were going to be there that were probably up at that party when I was down in the cellar.
Right.
And I said, but no, I got to do it. I'm going to do it. And so I go to this event. I walk in the door. I had just started to walk around. I hadn't even really seen anybody I knew yet. And I felt this water dripping down my back. I thought, this is funny. What's that? It's not too hot in here. I'm not hot. I didn't even know what it was. And I reached back and thought, yeah, God, this is crazy. And then all of a sudden it hit me. This is what they call a cold sweat. And I tell you, I've been through some amazing things in an airplane. I've been through some very scary experiences in an airplane, particularly in the military. I've almost died many times.
So
I'm not exaggerating.
We talked about all these.
That's in the military. Civilian flying is very safe.
Good.
But I thought, I'll be darned, I am so afraid. I've experienced for the first time in my life this thing called cold sweats. And I left and I went out to my car and I sat there in my car and I thought, okay, I tried. I can leave now. It's no big deal. I came down here, I showed up, I'm cool. And I thought, no, I can't do that. I've got to face this fear. I got to conquer this fear. And so I grabbed the towel in my car, I wiped myself off, I went back into that place, and long story short, I ended up having an extraordinary time. And when I left out of there, I'm driving my car away and I just feel this exhilaration. And I was surprised by it myself. I thought, what is this all about? And I realized I just faced something that was really, really frightening to me. It might not have frightened somebody else, but it was frightening to me. And by facing it and getting through it, I had this huge burst in self-confidence afterwards. And I realized, that's how you build self-confidence. You face things that you're afraid of, whatever it is for you. And if you face small things, you'll build a little bit of self-confidence. If you face big things, you'll build a lot of self-confidence. That, for whatever reason, was a big thing for me. And that's why I believe in things like, the bungee jumping, honestly, walking on coals and things like that people do at some of these exercises. I've literally walked on broken glass before. But when you do things like that, and I don't recommend it, kids don't try that at home.
Right.
But when you do something like that and you face a big fear and you come out of it on the other side, you get confidence points. You were talking earlier about the buildup of confidence.
Deposits almost.
And I was just making deposits in that confidence bank. And I want to build an MBA, a massive bank account, a massive bank allowance of confidence points. And That's how I realized I started to do it. And even right now, sitting here right here with Garrett filming this is a little bit scary for me. But it's fun scary, and that's how you got to change your shift of fear.
You know you'll have more energy after this than before this.
Oh yeah, and
You'll
you
be
know,
excited about it.
yeah, and it is kind of fun. I'm having fun with you right now,
Right.
but it's like a roller coaster. You know, I mean, people go on roller coasters to get scared, but it's fun. And people watch scary movies to get scared, but it's fun. And we have to start looking at fear that way. I mean, not only as a vehicle to build confidence, but also make it fun. You know, this is fun. It's you're shifting, completely shifting how you look at fear. Fear is your friend now. Fear is something that builds confidence. It provides excitement. It provides energy. So,
Yeah, and I kind of, you know, I joke that if someone tells me they've got this big vision and I ask them if they have any fear around it and they say no, I'm like, well, I guess it's not big enough then, because it should be equal parts excitement and fear, because it should be bigger than what you know how to accomplish sometimes.
Absolutely.
And what's been fun is facing some of the fears. For example, the first triathlon I did, there was 32 people that came and watched, and that we had, you know, everyone taking pictures afterwards and hanging out. But when I declared that I was going to do the triathlon, I didn't know how to swim. And when I got in the water, it didn't matter if the water was 4 feet deep. I wouldn't even think about it being 40 feet deep, but 4 feet deep. And then I'd start swimming. I would start choking. I'd start panicking. If I just had to hold my head underwater for a little while, I get very scared. And I couldn't swim more than maybe like 200 meters because I keep my head above the water the whole time. I get exhausted, you know, I need to stand up and rest. So that wasn't the right form. That wasn't going to work. So I wasn't sure the whole time, am I going to be able to do this? It was a little bit like, I was like, well, I'm going to do it. I just don't know how. I'm going to have to get a mentor. I hired a swim coach. You know, and some people could be afraid from a distance, meaning they're in the stands watching other people swim, right? Or there's people that get in. And I decided to get in, and then I decided to have someone help me because I couldn't see what was going on.
Right.
They could help me adjust. They knew about it. And I think that, you know, your equation of how to build confidence that is probably within all that. Why don't we share some of that equation?
well, again, part of it's like you were just talking about finding a mentor. And, you know, when I went out there to fly for the first time, I didn't know what I was doing. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to build competence in, but I had to find somebody who was already competent to do it. And I tell you, it was a steep learning curve. Like you out there, you know, swimming and feeling like you're going to drown. The first time I tried to fly formation, when the instructor pulled up to that other airplane and gave me the stick, my airplane was all over the place like this. And he took me out, settled me down, you can do this. He brought me back in and he showed me how to do it again. And now I'm all over the place, but I'm not as much. And by the end of the pilot training, having instruction over and over again from this guy who knew what he was doing, and I could kind of borrow confidence from him telling me, this is how you do it, I know you can do it, pull it back in here, you can do this. Where by the end of the pilot training, we're flying like this, and we're doing wild rejoins and all sorts of stuff. At the beginning of pilot training, I knew he could do it, but I couldn't have imagined myself doing the sort of things that I was able to do with his regular instruction and supervision.
Right, which a lot of us have that constriction or limitation that we can't even come close to understanding what we're capable of. But until we start doing something, until we're faced with it, until we, you know, acknowledge and then move past that fear.
Absolutely. And like, you know, you think of the analogy of a solo too, as you think, you know, again, kind of borrowing confidence from a mentor and instructor who's been there. You know, when I did my first solo in an airplane, I wasn't confident at all. You know, the idea of being in an airplane all by myself there at Riverside Airport in California was absolutely terrifying to me. I was fairly certain that I would die.
Now today, if we went and threw you on a
Yeah, it wouldn't be as much of a problem right now.
No big deal, right?
But at the time, it was a big deal.
Right.
But I borrowed confidence from my instructor who told me, you are ready.
So you get a mentor,
can do this.
you borrow confidence from them.
Right, in the beginning until you can build it up on your own. And by going out there and the experience of flying around that pattern by myself and landing a couple of times, doing a few touch and goes,
Learning, then living
then
it.
I started building my own confidence and I was able to go from there. So you can borrow a little bit from your instructor, your mentor, and then you build your own. You face that fear and you start building your own confidence.